Well, a very good morning. Thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. We have a very turbulent weather pattern setting up as we go through at least the first week to 10 days of October, with a lot of rain, a lot of cold winds as well. And it is quite an interesting setup, generally speaking, as we go into the month of October. Of course, it is the 1st of October. We do have a stormy period coming up, especially for the southern fringes of England, the northern and northwestern part of France in particular, where Meteo France has named Storm Alex, which will come in and basically wind up into a very intense area of low pressure as we go through the next 24 hours. So if we skip through this loop, you can see here, as we skip forward, there's the system here. Very small, tightly packed little feature here at the base of the trough. What we've got here is a very strong blocking area of high pressure over eastern parts of Europe and Scandinavia. And what this is essentially doing is we've got a lot of air getting driven in on a very strong upper level jet stream. And of course, when you pile this air into an area that has got nowhere to go, you tighten the area of low pressure. And that is exactly what we're going to find over the next 24 hours or so with Alex. The system will wind up because basically the air has got nowhere to go. We've got a big wall of high pressure here to the east of this feature. And what that will essentially do is tighten this very, very quickly. And you have got the potential for 100-mile-an-hour winds, believe it or not, on the northwestern coast of France. And we could see 70 to 80 mile an hour through the channel, maybe about 70 miles an hour on the south coast of England, 50 mile an hour possible further inland here. We've got a little bit of weather here to the north of Scotland, but generally speaking, things are fairly quiet across the northern half of the British Isles during the course of tomorrow. So that's Friday. However, as we go into Saturday, we continue to have this wall of high pressure to the east. This feature's got nowhere to go, right? So what it'll do is it's going to open up and it's going to increase its size, but then basically push its wind and its rain northwards over the British Isles. So you can see here, as we go through the day on Saturday, notice here how the area of low pressure continues to spin around. It's trapped. Basically, high pressure is surrounding this feature. So it's trapped. It's going to be like basically just a swirl of wind, rain, feeling cold underneath that area of low pressure. And that will be the dominant factor through the weekend and into the early part of next week. Eventually, this thing does escape. Once it does so, we're met by another area of low pressure coming in from the west. This thing here is deep as well. Wouldn't be surprised if this was actually named, because it's a very tight feature. High pressure is forcing these lows to deepen, and we could see some very strong winds as well as heavy rain associated with this. Well, pressure's down to 969 millibars, isn't it? So this is a very interesting setup here, but it's basically these areas of low pressure. We've got a strong jet stream, but we've also got a lot of strong high pressure. And what that's doing is it's fighting against each other, and this air has to go somewhere. So what it does is the areas of low pressure deepen, and of course we see a lot of turbulent weather in association with this. So why are we seeing this slowdown in the generally the piling up of air, forcing areas of low pressure to deepen? And it's a lot of it's because we've got an area of high pressure that is over to the east of Europe and over the Ural Mountains. So this basically here is acting like a wall. You've got a strong jet and it's piling up against this area of high pressure, and that's forcing these areas of low pressure to deepen. So as we skip through the loop here, this is looking at the northern hemisphere view, and this is the 500 millibar height anomaly. So you've got the lower than normal pressure, you've got the higher than normal pressure, and you can generally see that negative NAO look. We've got blocking areas of high pressure up over the high latitude region. And again, like I said in recent videos, this is something really worth paying attention to here, because what that's indicating is, although we've got some strong jet stream winds, we're also seeing high pressure up into the high latitude region. That is going to continue to keep the polar vortex from strengthening in a significant way. And once you get that ball rolling with a strong polar vortex, it's hard to break that down. And we've seen that, a perfect textbook example of that last year. And what we're wanting to see is we're going to want to continue to see this disruption of that vortex, because what that will essentially do is it's going to slow down the westerly winds circling around this polar vortex. And what that will do is it will allow areas of high pressure from the mid latitudes to lift north into the high latitude region here, disrupting the vortex, allowing and forcing cold air within that southwards here. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. There's no doubt about that. But you can see here, as we skip forward, you can see here how that area of low pressure there deepens over northwestern France, the southern part of England. You can see here an extension of that trough further east, but it's essentially getting trapped within this larger, stronger high pressure zone, and it's forcing these areas of low pressure to deepen. We continue to skip through the sequence here, and you can see here that basically that wall, that loop of high pressure keeps that trough firmly in place. It doesn't progress eastwards, and we're going to just continue to see that washing machine effect, if you will, of these areas of low pressure. You notice here that area of low pressure moves in. We've got quite a lot of North Atlantic blocking, and again, this is a negative NAO pattern. So you've got the lows developing, forming at the base of the trough. You've got a trough locked in place over the British Isles. So these areas of low pressure just basically drop into that trough and deepen, becoming strong areas of low pressure in themselves because of the nature of the overall pattern. We've got that block here over the Urals, over the Arctic, and over Greenland in the North Atlantic. So that's not allowing a kind of west-east pattern at the moment. We've got a very amplified pattern, and it looks as if it's going to be a very wet and at least stormy first half to October. Now, what I think this is the result, I believe, of that very, very active tropical Atlantic that was seen about 10 to 14 days ago. I think what we've seen a tremendous release of heat into the high atmosphere, and that was forced northwards towards the Arctic region. And this is the response of that tremendous heat release, I believe, from the tropics towards the north hemisphere, the high latitude region, if you will. Do I think this is going to continue? It might, but I do also think that, of course, we've seen the shutdown of the Atlantic. There's no tremendous heat release, if you will, going on at the moment. So what we might find is we might start to find that the polar vortex starts to strengthen. We see more of a build-up of high pressure over the tropics. And what we may start to see is a more either neutral, if not positive, Arctic oscillation and North Atlantic oscillation during the second half of October. So we could see the change during the second half of October, maybe even into November as well. But there is a possibility that what we're seeing right now could return perhaps later on in the autumn and even into the early part of winter here. So this is what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at the big picture. What's the pattern telling us? And what may be ahead. So that's it for today. Hope you have a great day. I'll be back in the next few days with more. Bye for now.